Jamie loved adventure, old towns, spooky stories. They were his lifeblood. So, when he heard whispers of a cursed cave filled with vampire bats, he was thrilled. Locals warned him. "Don't go near that place," they'd say, their faces grim. "It's a place of no return." Jamie just smiled, excitement bubbling in his chest. He didn't believe in curses. He craved the thrill of the unknown. The sun beat down on Jamie's back as he trekked through the jungle. He clutched a worn map in his sweaty hand. It was supposed to lead him to the cave. He hoped the rumors were true. Jamie lived for this kind of danger. He wasn't afraid, not yet. Jamie quickened his pace. He could feel it now. The air grew heavy, filled with a sense of dread. The jungle noises seemed to fade, replaced by an unnatural silence. Jamie was close. He could feel it in his bones. The jungle wall seemed impenetrable. Jamie pushed through thick vines and towering ferns. He ran his hand along the rough surface, searching. There, he found it. A small, almost invisible opening concealed by a curtain of hanging moss. Jamie pushed the moss aside and peered inside. The darkness felt alive. A shiver ran down Jamie's spine. He took a deep breath and ducked inside. The air inside the cave was heavy and damp, thick with the smell of decay. Jamie pulled out his flashlight and flicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a narrow passage that disappeared into the unknown. Jamie took a step forward, his heart pounding with anticipation. He was finally here. The darkness seemed to press in on him, suffocating him, but he pressed on, drawn deeper into the cave's embrace. The passage twisted and turned, leading Jamie deeper into the earth. The air grew colder, the silence more oppressive. The beam of his flashlight danced across the walls, revealing strange symbols etched into the rock. They looked ancient, menacing. Jamie felt a shiver run down his spine. He told himself it was just the cold. The floor of the cave was uneven, littered with rocks and debris. The air was thick with the smell of guano. Jamie coughed, covering his mouth with his sleeve. The silence was broken only by the sound of dripping water. It echoed through the caverns, each drop like a hammer blow. Jamie stumbled over a loose rock, his flashlight beam skittering wildly across the walls. For a moment he was lost in absolute darkness. He froze, his heart racing. He listened, but there was nothing but the sound of his own ragged breathing. Jamie slowly got to his feet, his hand shaking as he aimed the flashlight. He continued down the passage, his unease growing with every step. The air grew heavy, harder to breathe. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Suddenly the ground gave way beneath him. He cried out, his arms flailing as he tumbled down a steep, hidden shaft. The flashlight slipped from his grasp, the beam disappearing into the darkness below. Jamie landed with a sickening thud, his body racked with pain. He lay there for a moment, gasping for breath, the air knocked from his lungs. Jamie tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through his ankle. He cried out again, clutching at his leg. He was hurt, badly hurt. He was trapped. Section 5, 1,000 Eyes. As Jamie lay there, helpless, he became aware of a faint sound. A soft, rustling sound, like the beating of 1,000 tiny wings. It seemed to be coming from deeper within the cave. He looked around, his heart pounding, but he could see nothing in the pitch black. The rustling grew louder, closer. Jamie struggled to sit up, ignoring the pain that shot through his ankle. He had to know what was coming for him. He fumbled in his backpack for his spare flashlight, his fingers clumsy with fear. He finally found it and flicked it on. The beam of light flickered to life, illuminating the space around him, and that's when he saw them. Hundreds, no, thousands of tiny, glowing eyes blinked at him from the darkness above. Jamie's blood ran cold. They were everywhere. Section 6, Razor Wings. The creatures swooped down, their leathery wings brushing against his face. Jamie swatted at them, his heart pounding in his chest. He could hear the creatures screeching, a high-pitched, grating sound that set his teeth on edge. He knew what they were. Vampire bats. Jamie scrambled back, desperately trying to escape the onslaught. He kicked out wildly, connecting with something soft and furry. He felt a sharp pain in his arm as teeth sank into his flesh. He cried out, shaking his arm violently, trying to dislodge the creature. More bats descended, their eyes glowing red in the dim light. Jamie thrashed and kicked, but there were too many. They were relentless. He was trapped, alone in the darkness with creatures of the night. Section 7. Trapped. Jamie pressed himself against the cold, damp wall of the cave, his heart pounding in his chest. The bats circled above him, their eyes like tiny red embers in the darkness. He knew he couldn't stay here. They would drain him dry. He had to find a way out, but his ankle throbbed with pain, and he knew he couldn't climb out of the shaft he had fallen down. He scanned the darkness, his heart sinking. He was trapped. The bats swooped closer, their screeching echoing through the cavern. Jamie could smell their musky odor, feel the air stir as their wings beat furiously. He closed his eyes, bracing himself for the inevitable. Section 8. The Blood Moon Ritual. As his vision blurred, Jamie noticed faint carvings on the cave wall. They seemed to depict figures dancing under a blood-red moon. Were they worshipping the bats? Was this some kind of unholy ritual site? He had stumbled into something ancient and evil. He remembered the legends, the whispers of sacrifices made to appease the creatures of the night. The locals had warned him. They said the cave was cursed, a tomb for lost souls. Now, trapped beneath the earth, Jamie realized the horrible truth. They were right. He was going to die here, another sacrifice to the bloodthirsty gods of the darkness. His body would join the others, their bones littering the cave floor, a grim testament to the legends he had foolishly dismissed. Section 9. Whispers in the Dark. Jamie thought he heard voices whispering his name. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, echoing through the cavern. Were they real, or were they just figments of his imagination, conjured by fear and the venom coursing through his veins? He closed his eyes, trying to shut out the whispers, the fluttering of wings, the feeling of sharp teeth sinking into his flesh. But the darkness pressed in on him, suffocating him. He was lost in a sea of blackness, adrift in a nightmare he couldn't escape. Jamie opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Only a dry, rattling breath escaped his lips. He was too weak, too tired to fight anymore. He surrendered to the darkness, his last thought a bitter acknowledgement of his folly. Section 10. The cave claims another. The bats continued to feast, their tiny bodies a writhing mass on Jamie's weakening form. His lifeblood drained away, feeding their insatiable hunger. The cave floor grew slick with blood, the metallic scent thick in the air, another soul claimed by the darkness. The whispers faded, replaced by the triumphant screeching of the bats. They had won, the cave was theirs, and Jamie was just another offering, another name added to the long list of souls lost to the darkness. The cave stood silent, a tomb of whispers and shadows, its hunger never truly satisfied. It waited patiently for the next unsuspecting soul to stumble through its hidden entrance, drawn to the allure of the unknown. The jungle held its breath, guarding the secrets of the cave. The curse lived on, and Jamie's last adventure became a tale whispered around campfires, a warning to those who dared to tempt fate and ignore the legends.